Here's the thing I never thought I would watch. Here's the thing I was sent from my close personal friends at MVD. So close I got the name wrong. That I held this in my hand and I was like, hey, I suppose I have to watch this. This is from 1991 and Troma, Toxic Crusaders, the complete series. That's right. This is that early 90s Troma produced Toxic Avenger cartoon that I wanted nothing to do with at the age I was at. I think I was a junior in high school when this came out. And in the years since, I never had any interest. I'm not a big Troma fan. I always say I respect Troma and Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd Kaufman's a great guy. I respect what they've been able to achieve and maintain all of these years, but I really am. It's not my style. I don't really go for the Troma stuff for the most part. So when I thought I was going to have to sit down, and I have no love for the '90s culture in general. There's some great stuff in the '90s. I lived through it. Once was enough. So I always kind of have that going. And I popped this in, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll watch a few of these at least. And out of the gate, this show is legitimately funny. This show is really sharp. I was really surprised. This for me, and I haven't watched all the Toxic Avengers films, and I do apologize to my friends at MVD because they did send me the 4K box set of all the Toxic Avengers films that is sitting over there that you can't quite see, that I still need to watch. But I haven't seen all the Toxie films, but this might be my favorite form of Toxic Avenger because it doesn't dwell on the gross and the boundary pushing as much as the Troma films do. It's just really funny. This is a 2-disc Blu-ray set. Apparently the original masters were not available, so this is an upscale from the standard def, but it looks really good. And basically the story, the idea of the show goes a little, I'm not going to break down every episode. I'll tell you overall what the show's about and then get into the extras. Basically, when Tromaville Health Club new janitor Melvin is accidentally doused with toxic waste, he becomes a hideously deformed creature with superhuman size and strength. The Toxic Crusader, he's called in this, or Toxie, fighting the evil nearby toxic chemical plant CEO, Dr. Killimoff, who has like a face mask and multiple arms, and his mutant minions with the help of a sentient mop, his girlfriend Yvonne, who is always is breaking out into song with an accordion, and the songs are pretty funny too, and fellow mutants No Zone, Headbanger, Junkyard, and General Disaster. It's got an environmental message that goes throughout. And Troma always did kind of have messages in their movies. It was usually pretty subtle. It was always very anti-corporate and things like that. But this is like kind of like the funky, weird alternative to Captain Planet, which was another pro-environment. The environmentalism was really big in getting into like children's programming and stuff around this time. Episode 1 was written by Chuck Lorre, who went on to create Grace Under Fire, 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory, and a lot of other things. And there's a character like the minion of Dr. Killimoff is voiced by Michael J. Pollard. There's another character who sounds like he's doing a Hervé Villechaize impersonation. Chuck McCann voices the corrupt Mayor Grody. The first episode has a Mother's Day reference. Mother's Day, meaning the Lloyd Kaufman's brother made the horror film Mother's Day, and there's a straight reference to Mother's Day in this. There are references to Lloyd Kaufman throughout. There's a family called the Lloyd family, and one of them is drawn to look exactly like Lloyd Kaufman at the time this film was made, and all of his family members look just like him, only they're female. It's an era and an aesthetic that I don't care for. Like, the character designs are, for me, too garish, too busy. They look like they designed the toys first and drew the character. And it's that weird, like, that era of toy where they were like beefy, like the He-Man pose, if you know what I mean, the original He-Man toys, which were very broad-chested men with arms that were out to the side and almost like bow-legged. A lot of the characters kind of look like that, like they're made to look just like the toys that are ready to come out, and there was a toy line. But the show it's really sharp and it's really funny. And I watch a lot of cartoons that I loved as a kid, and I watch them now, and there's just not enough there for my mind to hook into. They're just so slight. And this was a show that I was engaged the whole time. I was laughing out loud, which I don't do at many cartoons. I really can't recommend this enough. This is really bizarre to say this. I really loved the Toxic Crusaders cartoon, and it might be because I had such low expectations for it and I was so surprised, but I had a really good time with this. Disc 1 is episodes 1 through 7, and they're 23 minutes each. They may have recreated the end titles for these as closely as they could to the originals. There are some things that looked a little sharper, but overall they look pretty good. They don't look razor sharp, but the colors look good, and they looked good on a really big TV. Special features on disc 1, we have Lloyd Kaufman's Gonna School Ya, that's 2 minutes. Who Are the Toxic Crusaders? That's 2 minutes. It's 4:3 standard def. Vintage, looks like it's taken from a vintage sales promo video. Toxie and No Zone march in the Macy's Day Parade. It's 30 seconds, 4:3 home video footage of people in costumes accurate to the cartoon marching in the Macy's Parade. Message from Space, it's a 1991 Toxic Crusaders toy ads. There's 3 that are 30 seconds long. Toxic Toy Jingle, it's a 30-second toy ad. Toxic Crusaders in 3D, in parentheses, not actually in 3D. It's 44 seconds, and it's test footage for like a 3D Toxic Crusaders toy commercial, I guess. Christmas Comes But Once a Year. And this is weird. There's a bunch of public domain Christmas cartoons on here that I guess were on the previous DVD collection of Toxic Crusaders. They have nothing whatsoever to do with Troma or the Toxic Crusaders. And Troma and the Toxic Crusaders have nothing whatsoever to do with Christmas, but here they are. You get Christmas Comes But Once a Year. It's a Max Fleischer cartoon that's public domain, 8 minutes. You get Snow Foolin', that's 6 minutes. Jack Frost, that's 8 minutes, not the Rankin Bass, and Hector's Hectic Life, that's 6 minutes. That's just weird that they're on there. The disc opens up with a Toxie versus Putin short that a friend of mine stars as Toxie in, that was shot around the time the Ukrainian invasion first happened, and also a retroware Toxic Crusaders video game ad that features, again, my close personal friend James T. Mills as the Toxic Avenger, but looking like the cartoon Toxic Avenger, up against a guy dressed as Dr. Kill-Em-Off, which is kind of cool. Then that is disc 1. Disc 2 is episodes 8 through 13. You get at least one episode is written by Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herz. I get choked up when I talk about the Toxic Avenger. You get special features on this set is Lloyd Kaufman's classic DVD intro from when this came out on DVD. That's 2 minutes. That's standard def 4:3. Original Toxic Crusaders retail presentation that for, I think, industry people to try to buy the toy line. That's 5 minutes, and that's 4:3 standard def. You get, it says file footage, 3-minute promo with no voiceover, either incomplete or left so one could be added later to suit whatever use it was for. And then you get the parade footage again, and then you get the show intro. You get Toxic toy commercials. It's 2 30-second toy commercials and 1 5-second toy commercial. Toy TV spots, 3 30-second toy commercials. You get Lloyd Gets Bent Over by the Studio System. That's a minute and a half. It's an archival 4:3 short that's a little crude. You get Making the Toxic Crusaders, Making of the Game. This is a 74-minute retroware produced, detailed how the Toxic Crusaders game was made. The Toxic Crusaders game is really cool because it looks like it's a side-scrolling, like, shoot-'em-up multiplayer thing that looks like you're watching the cartoon. It's really well done with, like, new voice acting and music and all that. But the downside to this is that there's no shots of the game in this 74-minute documentary. So you hear all these people talking about the game and developing the game and talking about really specific things and really specific ways that it plays, and you never see anything to illustrate that, which I thought was really distracting. It was weird for hearing people talk for that long about the game and never seeing a glimpse of it. It is followed on the menu by a 1-minute promo showing gameplay called Toxic Crusaders the Game. That's cool, but it really should have been integrated into the other thing. Radiation March, that's a minute long, 4:3 standard def. It's seemingly on like every Troma release, and it's this like anti-pollution PSA shot somewhere in New York or New Jersey, probably back in the 80s or 90s. The Toxic Avenger in Ukraine, again, it's that Toxie versus Putin thing. That's a minute. That's also at that's an autoplay at the beginning of each disc. And then you get TA in 4K. It's a 1 minute promo with Lloyd Kaufman for the Toxic Avenger 4K box set with before and after shots of restoration, which I'm always a big fan of. So if you want to see the package, that's what that looks like there. So vintage, accurate to the style of the cartoon. And then nothing too fancy here, but here you see Dr. Kill-Em-Off and Toxie, the Toxic Crusader himself, on each disc. So this is a really good release. You know, it's maybe not 4K, it's maybe not a gigantic leap forward from the previous DVD release, but it's everything on 2 discs. It looks and sounds great, and surprisingly really entertaining. Available from Troma and MVD is the Toxic Crusaders, the complete series on Blu-ray.